This is my buddy Apollo, and this is Apollo's roadmap to success. He's going to be kind of farting around, and so we'll let him in and out of the shot as he wants to. All right, so what did we go over today? We started off with meeting outside. Since Apollo is a little bit aloof of meeting new people, I would recommend you do what I did. Get in a habit of just leaving a tree trail from your top step, one on each step, and then diagonal across your sidewalk, and then to your curb where I was hanging out. And so the idea is when if I'm sitting on the curb, this is the street, this is the block behind me. So Apollo's going to approach me from like my 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock angle. And so the tree trail is going to lead him right up to me. As the guest, I'm going to have treats in my hand, but I'm sitting on the curb facing the street. And when he comes up to me, if he's eating all the treats and you say he's okay, then I'm going to hold out a flat hand with one treat here. When he licks it up, I'm going to keep my hand there. And he's going to do just what he did there. And so he's going to come back and sample it 2 or 3 times. When you're doing this, if you're a guest watching this, do not pet him, don't talk to him, don't look at him. If you're sitting down, you're more approachable, but if you turn and look at him, that might make him feel a little bit uncomfortable. You want to be very passive. So what we're going to do is we're going to Apollo practice walking down the stairs, go to that spot, maybe there's a pile of treats or a stick or a bully stick, he grabs you, come back inside. So we do that a couple times so he's just comfortable with that. Then every time we're going to meet somebody new, the person sitting there, you leave the tree trail, you go out there, leave the tree trail, come back in, put a harness on Apollo, lead him out there, and he's more interested in the treats, not looking at the boogeyman or girl. And then he gets the person just holds out one treat. And if Apollo gets stiff, have the person, not with a big movement, toss a treat behind Apollo. Sometimes we only think of getting the dog closer to us, but the dog's uncomfortable. Throwing the treat behind him allows him to go, that was hard. So sometimes throwing the treat allows him to catch his breath. And then when he comes up, give a treat. I usually wait, I usually like to ask, sit. If he sits, say yes and give him the treat. And then if he sits when the person says it, and I feel is pretty comfortable, then what I would do is I would toss a couple treats away to get him to get away, and then you stand up. When you stand up, you have a lot more authority. So when I stand up, I want him to be further away, and then he looks at me, but he's got treats in his mouth. I'm like, I like the treats. Then he comes back, and I offer another treat to the side. And then we walk to the corner. Probably won't have to walk very far. Turn around. If he seems like he was giving the good energy like he was, then you turn around and come back inside. And then he got to meet them outside. We created a positive association. A lot of people don't realize dogs have a fight or flight response. They understand that, but they don't think about it. Celebrate.
Yes.
Just pet. When we come into a dog's home, we are invading their space. And as guests, we feel like we need to make friends with the dog and cat, so we think we should go pet them. Dogs love getting pets if they like you and trust you. If they don't like you and trust you, just like you, if some rando comes up to you and says, I want to give you a hug, and I don't like you, no, I don't want you to hug me, because I don't know who you are. And dogs are much more accommodating for this than the humans are, but he's a little bit aloof. And so if you're meeting him, the best thing you do is just be very passive and let him approach you. Even when he's approaching you, just kind of ignore him. Let him approach you, and you can give him a treat every once in a while, but we want him to come and sniff and learn. I can go sniff this guest and mess around with him a little bit and walk away, and the guest doesn't try to do anything negative. And try to reach out and pet him would be a negative at first. So when I do want to see if he wants to do it, I kind of hold my hand out like this. Yeah. Now, he's more interested in getting his toy than he wasn't interested before we shot this video. But we also went over hand targeting. Hello. Touch. So I got his attention with that voice, but we haven't practiced the hand targeting enough. Now, we did go over it, but that would be something that once you guys have done this enough, when you have guests come over, you two, not your guest, you and your partner, can be doing this back and forth. And then the guest, after you get dog, we're playing this game, I shove my nose in your hand, then you do it. The guest doesn't. He comes over and he touches his nose, and you put a treat there. He gets to interact with you without you petting. And if he chooses not to come to you, he's saying, I'm not comfortable enough to come near you. That is entirely okay. If you're a guest that comes over and doesn't pet him at all, and he comes over and sniffs you and you don't try to pet him a couple times, the next time you come over, he's going to be like, this person listened to me. This person didn't try to do something I wasn't comfortable with. Probably show more interest and curiosity in you because you weren't chasing them out. As a guest, like I said, we have social pressure. I have to make sure that your dog likes me, so I'm a good guest for you. Best thing you do for Apollo is ignore him. So practice that greeting, and occasionally do it, have your partner down there, or you're down there, and wear a hoodie or something that he doesn't know. And he's like, oh shit, it's you? And so we're just creating that a behavior pattern and a creative setup that's outside so we can take advantage of the distractions. Yes. Yeah, I know. All right, so we want to start off by going over marker words. We also loaded the clicker. So before when I leave, he's gonna be. I normally I'd say he's tired, but he's got plenty of energy. So walk around, 10 pieces of kibble, click, treat, click, treat. But don't hold the clicker close to his head at first. After a day or two, it doesn't matter. And you want to do that until when you click, he just stops. What he's doing is looking at you. The click is the same thing as yes. So don't ever click for attention. The click is the same thing as if he sits. You say yes when his bottom hits the ground, and you say yes, and that means I did the right thing. I'm about to get a treat. So we went over. We didn't do a loading exercise for the marker word because the Guardian's already established one, but we did it for the clicker. I use the clicker when I'm outside or actively training. Remember, you only have 2 seconds to click or say your marker word. So my clicker is over there, and he's here, and he says, and he sits. And I go over here, grab it. By the time I click, it's too late. So I use yes when I don't have the clicker in my hand. Problem is we didn't come out of our mother with a clicker. So that's why yes is beneficial, but the clicker works about 18% better, and it works better outside. So a lot of dogs, when that clicker sound comes, everything else drowns out, kind of like the experience you have now when you go outside, you drown out. The clicker can eventually become like that. You carry the clicker, and you control the clicker. So, all right, so we went over hand targeting. There should be a video linked above on how to do hand targeting. Practice that one. So again, you can use that for your guest. You can use it to reposition it. You can use an alternative recall, but it also is a nice way of gauging consent. And so I use it for really to practice using your timing of your marker word. Okay, so after that, we went over the importance of celebrating desired behaviors. Most people don't tell their dog what they can do to contribute to their group. So the easy way to do that is pet your dog every time he sits on his own, lays down on his own, comes to you, gives you eye contact, poops, drinks water, anything that's desirable. As soon as he does it, say yes and pet him. Well, he was saying he kind of liked it right here, right? Mm-hmm. And so the idea is, what can you do to contribute? Boy, they like it when I sit, like it when I go on my dog bed, like it when I do this. Because those actions are consistently getting your attention. Now, I invite you guys to say the word celebrate to each other. So I'm sitting here, and let's say he's sitting right here, or he walks up and sits down, and I'm watching the Laker game, and he sits down, I say yes, and pet him. Well, if I wasn't paying attention, I'm sitting here, and he came and sat down, you might tell me yes, and I would just say, or say celebrate, and I would just say yes, and pet him. I don't need to see it. Now, I prefer that you guys are watching. So when he does come to you, yes, and then you continue like the conversation. I just said yes and marked and rewarded. Didn't stop me from having my conversation with you. You're going to be doing it a lot if you do it right. But after a while, he'll start coming and sitting in front of you to ask for attention versus nudging you and pawing at you. Now that brings us to the manners lesson. So remember, if he is doing things asking for things in not the best way, jumping up on you, grabbing you by your hand, barking at you, nudging you, give me some chicken nuggets is what he's saying. So you're going to say, would you like to ask for those chicken nuggets again? And his way of saying please would be, you're going to ask him to sit one time. If he sits, you say yes and pet him. If he doesn't, go back to reading your paper or hanging out with your partner or checking your email or whatever it is. So if you do what I ask you to do, you get a reward. If you do the things I like without me asking, you get a reward. If you don't do what I want, that's totally cool. You do you. But I'm on to the next thing. He's the one that's missing out. Remember, half of how dogs learn is not doing the thing that you're asking for and not getting the treat or reward. I have a lot of clients women who have trouble with their dogs because it's the same principle of like, I'm guessing that was another gift as well, I will love my partner so much I will get him to stop drinking. I will love him so much he won't gamble or whatever it is. It never works. So dogs will kind of look at that as, and women think, I'm going to love the dog so much he'll stop mouthing me or jumping up. Dogs are like, you're cool with it. So remember, not saying no for dogs is similar to saying that has my okay, I'm all right with that activity. So you do want to disagree, but the problem with disagreeing, all attention's rewarding. That's why we went over the celebrating and manners, because we want to give them attention for things we want. Now, it's pretty funny with your butt in the air. He's doing something funny off camera. Now let's say he's getting the trash. We can use that pause interrupter sound. Touch! Now he's not going to run over right now because he looks like he's sucking drinking out of a 40 ounce. But basically, that's why we're going to do the hand targeting. This is called the pause interrupter lesson. So if he's getting the trash, I go, he looks at me, I go touch. Once he knows the cue, he runs over, shoves his nose in my hand, I put the treat down, and then so my partner's going to take away the trash or the shoe or whatever it is. And then we're going to take it for a walk and give him something else to do. It's going to positively interrupt his behavior, give you an opportunity to redirect. If you don't redirect, he's going to go right back to doing what he's doing before. But after a while, now you have a way of getting him out of trouble. He's messing with a cat, looks at you, runs over, and then you can give him something else to do. I'd like you to also keep in the back of your mind, anytime that he is getting ornery or persnickety or whatever the case may be, mouthy with you or whatever it is, probably bored. Take him out for a little 5 or 10 minute sniff walk. Do a little training with him. Or play a little fetch in the house or whatever it is. Find a way to let him release that energy. Otherwise, you're going to chew your blanket and whatnot. For the kennel, I would probably not put that blanket in there anymore. I'm surprised he hasn't chewed this dog bed up. If he hasn't, great, leave this one in there. But if he does chew it up, they make something called a kennel bed liner. It's actually, ironically, kind of a terry cloth, almost like this. And it's very thin and has a piping around the board. And so it usually fits exactly the size of the kennel. It's very durable. They can chew it, but most of the time they chew a pillow and they rip all the stuff out. It's fun for them. This doesn't have that. It's just, so it'd be a nice thing for you to get if you want to go to the restaurants, getting one of those. And I would have it out. And so the way I teach him to go on there is that if the dog bed is right here, I show him I have a treat and drop it on the dog bed. When he steps on the dog bed, I say yes, and then he licks up the treat. Wait for him to vacate, do the same thing. And after a while, you tap the dog bed, he runs over and steps on it, you say yes, and then you give him a treat. And after a while, you want to assign a cue. Now, since throwing a treat on the dog bed is probably going to even go there, so maybe you say, is there a favorite place you always wanted to visit, or you're from, or? Peru. So you show him you have a treat, he's looking, you say Peru, toss it here, he steps on it, say yes, and he licks up the treat. After a while, I should say Peru, he goes there, and then you say yes and give him the treat. So once you've gotten that accomplished here at home, then you can take that with you to restaurants. I would go to like a Starbucks or a place where it's a time of the day where nobody's there. Put it down on the ground, order yourself a coffee, sit down, and let him just kind of hang out. We're helping him practice chilling out. There's nobody around, so there's nothing distracting. Walking and exercising him first sets him up for success. And then he's just kind of chilling out. And I think he's going to lay down. And then he's practicing just being sedate at this location. And then maybe you go there a little busier. Maybe there's one person at a table. Or you invite one of your friends to come over. Hey, can we have coffee? It's going to be weird coffee. Your friend shows up, you're like, okay, you have your earbuds, right? Yeah. Okay, you're going to sit at that table over here. I'm going to sit over this table. We're going to have coffee together at different tables. And now your friend is helping your dog practice being calm, even though somebody's there and you're talking, but you're not talking to somebody right there. He's practicing being calm. Eventually your friend maybe comes and joins you at the table, and she ignores him completely. But that would become after we've practiced this a couple times, so he knows when I go to a restaurant, I just chill out on my dog bed, and I don't get any food. I wouldn't give any people food here at home or at the restaurants, because that's going to cause him not to want to leave you alone. All right, so exercise. Taking him for a sniff walk is great. He's a puppy. I would recommend you go to I Said Sit, which is in Culver City. It's a great dog training company that have great puppy classes. Since he has difficulty with the vet, that'd be a great course to go. It's a drop-in course, and they just do vet visits. They have an examination table and the whole thing. And they have one for grooming. I'm guessing they have one for vet, but ask them. They might not. But even the grooming one would be good for him. Getting him around other puppies. He's 9 months old. We'd rather have him got around puppies when he was younger so he can learn better bite inhibition. The puppy that he likes to play with, the person who's watching, let him do that. Just ask them to interrupt him if he gets past level 5 energy. We don't want to play too excitedly. It's very hard for dogs to learn to play gently. It's very easy for them to play more robustly. All right, so exercise. Sniffing on walks burns a lot of energy. So instead of walking with a circuit, walk for a time. Walk out your door and take a right or left and just walk, and you're going to let him sniff as much as he wants, as long as it's safe to do so. Every time you start walking, I would invite you to use the cue, let's go, or vamonos, or whatever the word is you want to use. That means we're going. So every time you leave the house, let's go. Every time you go up the door, let's go. Every time you get up out of bed, let's go. So if he is sniffing, which I would allow, but let's say he's sniffing and there's another dog that's coming around the corner that's a jerk dog, or a mean dog, and you don't want him to have a negative interaction, you say, let's go. A lot of times they'll pop their nose off, oh, we're off to the next adventure. But that only works if you do it a lot, kind of like celebrating. So every time you start moving, say, let's go. I think you make him sit when you're at corners. Mm-hmm. Every time, let's go, and then start walking again. So it's and we don't want to use okay because it's such a commonly used word. So I want something very specific. Let's go means we're on the move. But again, if it's safe to let him sniff as much as possible. All right, so let me see what else. I want to get back to exercise, but I want to go over something else for you guys. So he really likes to play with dogs, and he gets very excited when dogs are around. Now the puppy class would be great because there'd be other puppies who get to play with. It's, you know, small class, 2, 3 other puppies. But if you, I was asking if you guys have been to Clover Park. Clover Park is 26th and Ocean Park. There's a big park on, it goes from Ocean Park to the Santa Monica Airport. That's the edge. So if you go closer to the airport, there's a big elevated kind of walkway around a big soccer field and baseball diamond. A lot of people walk their dogs there and take laps. So if you can find an area, and the nice thing is it's up and then it has a slant and then here's the field. So if you're up here and a dog's walking on the path and he gets too aroused, you can walk down the slope and increase that distance. What you'd like to do is find a place, an area, there's some areas, the corner, if you're looking at the airport, the park is here and the airport is there on that edge of the park. The top corner right here around this loop is a big area. You can have him sitting there and he can watch as the dogs pass by. So what you want to do is just as the dogs are coming by, you're giving him treats while he's looking at the dogs. When I give a treat, I'm holding my hand like this. These parts are going under the dog's chin, so I can direct the dog to look wherever I'm not obscuring his view. If I hold it here, he can't see what's going on. I want him looking at those dogs and I'm giving him treats. Or if you can just, if you're far enough away, he just watches the dog pass by, the dog walks by, and you say yes, and he gets a treat afterwards. We need to help him practice being around other dogs without getting to play with them. In our puppy classes, we tell people, let your puppy play with like every other puppy, dog they meet. Every other dog, no. So they learn to be discriminating. I can't play with any dog that I want. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. If we don't, it's okay too. So every time you pass a dog and he doesn't play with him, give him a treat. As soon as you pass the dog, yes, and give him a treat. So I didn't even play it, but I got a little something. Yeah, handsome boy. Something else I do is a consent check. Can you see me? Can you see him in the camera? You don't have to adjust if you can't.
A little bit, yeah.
So what I'm doing is if he's here, come here, buddy. You'll come for a treat, I bet. So if I'm petting him, and then and I want to see if he wants more pets, I put my head over here and go like this. He said, yeah, I want more pets. But if I go like this, and invite him, and he doesn't come over, now he's looking for treats right now, but you're petting him, and he doesn't come over, he's like, I'm cool with I'm done getting petted. It's important we listen to him, and we'll talk about consent in a sec, but let me go back to exercise. So, but go to Clover Park or a place where people are going to be walking their dogs past, where you can, and if you're sitting, and he's sitting, if you're sitting, he's more likely to sit. If you're standing, ask him to sit. Well, you're standing, you're not going to wear me here long, I'm ready to walk where you are. If you sit down, he's going to make him feel a little bit more, we're going to be there in a minute. And all you want to do is just watch people walking around this path. Now be careful. The squirrels there are like almost tame. They'll walk right up to you. So if he has a strong prey drive, you might have to have your partner chasing the squirrels away. We don't want to make it worse. But we wanted to practice watching dogs walk by without him getting the excitement, kind of like what the exercise we did at the door, teaching him just to be calm while we're going through the door, because I'm not going to open the whole door and you don't get to go on the full walk. So it's just the preamble just is something I'm not that excited about. All right, so sit. Yes. So we can get him a dog backpack that has basically a harness with pockets here. You can put bottles of water in it, but he's too young for that. His joints are not fully developed. I wouldn't want you to do that until he's about a year, a little over a year. You can also do the dog skiing like the video I showed you. If you do dog skiing, let me know. You need a special type of harness that distributes the weight differently than this type of harness. But that's a great way to burn energy. And I have a little dog, Max, or I had a little dog, a little border terrier. He could pull me by himself, and he weighed like 15 pounds. Yes, you're gonna close the door. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. And so let me see. We can also play tug of war. Just don't let him play too excited. Doesn't sound like he does. We can play fetch. We have kind of a hallway here from in the house, so I can show him how to have a ball. Say fetch as I throw the ball, he runs and grabs it. When he comes back, I hold a treat, and I just hold it in front of his nose. As soon as he drops it, I say yes, put the treat in his mouth. Then I pick it up, and eventually I would tell him to sit. When he sits, I say yes and throw it, and then he gets to go and get it. So we're building in a little bit of structure. All right, what else? What other for exercise? We can also let me see. There's also mental stimulation. So that would be getting that snuffle mat. The one that I use is the RUNDIK, I believe is how it's pronounced. Can't find it, let me know, but it's gray and it has a band around it. It works better. I've got a whole bunch of them. You don't want one with the big, you want individual little tassels. So feeding him out of that, that's like 2 short walks that we get him a day. We can also do some scent work like Cookie in the Corner that we did. Cookie in the Corner is the introduction for scent work. once a block, I would have you grab about 10 treats and say, Apollo, find it, and toss a treat. When he licks up, say yes, and when he looks at you, then throw a treat on the other side of him. He goes and gets it, he looks at you, yes. I'm marking when he looks at me, I'm going to throw a treat. He doesn't even have to come back to me. So once a block, I'm going to find a grassy area where I can throw maybe 5 or 10 treats one at a time. And then we continue the walk. Now we're promoting even more sniffing. And this is a great trick to do if you do it once a block. And let's say there's somebody across the street, a dog that he doesn't like. You start doing the find it game, his back is turned, the other dog passes by, and he doesn't even know the dog was there. So it's a nice redirection thing. It's also, sniffing burns more energy. It's also displacement behavior and helps them feel calm. All right, so we can also, I'd like you to Google scent games and find 2 or 3 scent games that you can play in the house. And don't do any courses yet. You can do those nose work courses later. But we might want to just at first do easy courses, something you can do at home for free. Also for this one, I forgot, when you push this together, not strong enough, Ty probably is, you can untwist it and then push it together and that makes the hole bigger and they get out. But he's also gotten 2 or 3 of them out of here and we were saying there's no way you can, I think there's only 1 left in here.
Nice
job. And again, for dogs, they're not going to be liking it so much if you hand to them, but maybe you gotten all your, it's been a 3-hour session, he's a little bit tired. But usually throwing on the ground is going to cause the dog to be more interested in it. Let me see, what else can we do? Training, great way to drain energy. Keep your training sessions 2 or 3 minutes max. Always end on a positive repetition. Also, when you do training, do it in a lot of variety. Do it in this room, do it in that room, do it in the kitchen. So dogs don't learn, generalize well, you need a lot of variety. Go to a carpet store. Get a piece of carpet that can fit in your in here. You don't have to have it all the time, but when you're training him, having a surface, like I said, it wasn't until we got him here that we taught him to lay down. If I don't have the video for sit, up, down, and stand linked up here, text me and I'll add it in so you can teach him how to do those cues on cue. And again, we're just luring him down. We're not saying down. We're just luring him until it's easy to lure him. Now, if I want my dog to lay down, the dog I have now, I say crash, and he flops down. Most people laugh. Chill. I have a baseball player that's a client, and we say slide, and the dog lays down. And people think it's pretty funny. So coming up with those fun cues can be helpful. Now sit or come should be ubiquitous, but other things like lasagna means go eat your food, or happy hour means you drink water. Kind of fun things like that. And especially if you're a dog that has some reactivity issues, having some fun cues that other people will hear, so like that's why I like Boop, can help lighten the mood. Okay, what else did we go over? So that's exercise and mental stimulation. I'd like you to, you can also, are you on Facebook? Mm-hmm. Go to Facebook and look for enrichment games or enrichment, dog enrichment, search for those terms. There are all sorts of things that you can do, little games where dogs can like, the paper towel tube. Take a piece of paper towel, put a piece of kibble in it, crumple it a little bit, put another piece of kibble, do that about 5 pieces, shove it in the paper towel tube, do that for about 7 or 8 pieces, then put it down. He's got to figure out how to pull that thing out. He smells the kibble, he rips it up and gets the kibble. Hopefully he's ripping it up and eating the kibble and not eating the paper. We're helping him practice not eating the shredding to get the good stuff. And then so every time we go through a paper towel or a toilet paper roll, keep them and start using those. But if you join these enrichment games, there's so many things you can do. And remember, when he's mouthy or rambunctious or chasing the cat, you say, I'm bored, man. Give me something to do. Find a bunch of enrichment games. Have them ready to go. And so that way he gets, you have a guest you're entertaining and he's being persnickety. You pull out one of those things that's good to go and he's now taking it into his kennel and doing his shredding business. So find a Google group for that. Let me see. We also went over consent. Remember, cutoff signals for dogs are turning away, leaning down, bending away, flipping their ears back, licking their lips, refusing to look at you, refusing to come to you, or pulling away or withdrawing from you. I have a client who's Russian, and the guy wanted to pet the dog. I don't know why I'm saying Russian, just so I remember him, but he was a very nice guy. Russian had nothing to do with it. But his girlfriend was very passive, and the dog would come over and she would like this, and the dog would come and she would pet it. If he did that, the dog wouldn't come, the dog would come close. He would grab the dog, pull him close to pet him. Is there anything wrong with that? You're providing a positive, but you're not giving the dog the choice to do it. And some dogs are like, I'd rather be chewing my toy. Even though I enjoy getting petted by you, we're kind of saying, no, come here and I'm going to do it right now. And I've had clients that eventually the dog starts kind of staying away from that person or getting mouthy because I would rather do something else. You're not listening when I'm giving cutoff signals. So you're trimming nails, they pull their paw back, that's a cutoff signal. If I show you the bottle and I walk away from the harness or the bottle for clearing my ears, same principle. So what I did for the bottles, I did what's called the CER, conditioned emotional response. I had a handful of treats here. I had the ear wash here, both hands behind my back. Flash, he looks at it, yes, goes away, and I give him a treat. Flash, he looks at it. Now, that wasn't going as well, so I put it on the ground and I started putting treats around it. I'm having him approach the bottle, get the treat, and walk away, and nothing bad happened. And after we did that a couple times, he was pretty comfortable. He stood there. He wasn't walking away anymore. Then we went back to the conditional emotional response, hold it out, and eventually held it out, and he came and touched his nose to the thing that would cause him to leave the room. So I'd have you do that with the flush as well as the ointment. And what would really be good is when you get done with this treatment, he might get another one. Go through this without doing the actual squirting. So get to the point where you're holding, and remember, sometimes you have to hold it a little bit and pull it away.
Oh no, you gotta go potty.
Okay, you can let him out. Go ahead, this is for you. Sorry, buddy. It's like, I told you I got to potty 3 times, and you weren't listening, so I'm going to pee. So go ahead and take him out, and I'll keep on rolling. All right, so when you're reaching for the bottle, remember, breaking things into small steps is the way to go. So if here's the dog, and I pull the squirt bottle here, and he starts backing away, so then I would take it away, have him come back. I ask him to sit just to kind of keep him in place, but remember, sitting puts him at a disadvantage, so don't ask for a sit, maybe just close the door. So if I went all the way here before he gets up, let's say he got up and moved away when I got to this distance. I pull it away, call him back up. This time I only come up my head up this far, pull it away, give him a treat. What we ended up doing is I was holding a treat here, and I moved my hand this way, then pull it away, release the treat. I'm holding the treat to his lips. Hold the next one, gives a little closer. And it's not always closer. Sometimes I have to do 4 or 5 at this distance, same distance, because he's starting to list away. But eventually, you want to get, it'll be a progression, but eventually you're touching his ear, and then you're releasing the treat. And once you get to the point where you can touch the ear or whatever it is, then I flip it. Then instead of holding a treat, here's the dog's head, and I'm not holding a treat here, I'm holding a treat here, the dog's head is here, and I reach a little bit, pull away, and then I give the treat. I'm not holding at their lips anymore. I want the dog to think, when a hand comes towards me, or the bottle comes towards me, I should be happy. Because it's going to come toward me a little bit, but then before I get scared, it's going to go away and I'm going to get a treat. And then eventually it comes closer and closer and closer. Eventually I'm touching the ear with my hand. Now, if you wait for him, you got to do what you got to do with the drips down. But once he's done with his ear infection, I would keep those bottles and I would recreate that. So move the bottle towards his ear, and it has the cap on the top. Eventually you're putting it in his ear, but you're not squirting anything. And his ear is not sensitive because he doesn't have a yeast infection in there. So you touch it, and then he gets a treat. So that this way, if he gets another ear infection, that wash means something good is going to happen. And so for the wash, I would probably do that with a little bit of, talk to your vet, talk to your new vet, because I don't know if you want to be introducing warm water in there, but I might do it once a month or whatever, a little warm water, and then give him a copious amounts of really good treats, chicken hearts or something like that. So it's I don't like the water, but after the water goes in my ear, I get so many good treats. I really am jazzed out. I really like that. Practice is not an emergency. An emergency is not the time to practice. Right now, you're in a pickle because he has an ear infection. When the ear infection is worked out, and you spend a little bit of extra time going through the steps I'm describing here, if he gets another one, he's going to be cool with you resting out his ear, or at least be a lot more comfortable than he is now. Let me see, what else did we go over? We went over the consent exercise and dog body language. The consent exercise, there should be a link on here somewhere about consent where I'm just talking about it. I go through the cutoff signals. But watch those cutoffs, even with each other. So if it's your dog and you go to pet him and he pulls away, try not to go for him. Try to wait for him to come back. That builds a better relationship, and it's more trusting when he does have an injury or something like that. He's not going to be worried about, you're going to try to grab me. Even though you want to grab him and give him love, like the guy that was from Russia, that dog started staying away from him, and all the guy was trying to do was pet his dog, but he was trying to force his pets on the dog. The dog likes pets. All you got to do is be a little patient. And when he started being patient, then the dog started coming up to him, and he's able to pet him when he wants. Come, and he gets to pet when he wants. So remember, we got to have watch out for them, and watch out for how they feel about things. We also went over dog body language, and so this is the last thing, and I'll kind of wrap this one up. So when I look at a dog, I read it in sections. The first thing I do is I look at the dog's head. So is the dog if it goes from an open mouth to a closed mouth, that can be a big warning. Does the dog's eyes big, unblinking, or are they kind of squinty? Squinty is good and positive. Big unblinking stare is not. So if a dog has a big unblinking stare, then it's saying I'm uncomfortable or I'm sending a signal. That's a big warning. So also, is the dog, what are the ears doing? Are they rotated back? Are they forward? So and I'm going to describe the other parts of the dog as well, but what I typically do is I watch the dog when I'm at home and there's no stimulus around, the dog's just neutral. How it's carrying its ears. How does it carry its mouth? How is it breathing? The other things we want to go over. So once I know what the neutral is, then when my partner's coming home, I'm watching the dog. I'm watching these individual parts of the dog when the partner comes home, when I know that they're happy. So now I know the difference between neutral and happy. And then when we're on a walk and we see something that's different from either one of those, and I can surmise he's a little bit trepidatious because it's dark out. Okay, this is what his ears do when he's uncomfortable. So you want to calibrate that so you know what to look for. So that's I finished up going over the head. Next thing I do is, and licking the lips can be a sign of stress as well. Next thing I do is I look at the dog's body. Dogs are normally wiggly and jiggly. If the dog's stiff and still, that's a big warning. Then I look at the breathing. Is it holding its breath or breathing fast or breathing slow? So it's different than normal. Identify my dog breathes fast when he's excited or unhappy or whatever the case may be. Yeah, buddy. And then let me see what else I look at. I also look at the lean. If they're leaning, I think I mentioned if they're leaning towards something, or away from it, it gives me an indication of how they feel about things. If the dog is leaning, this is the back leg, and it's way back here and trying to sniff somebody, I tell them not to try to pet. When the dog is leaning towards something, it's saying I'm trying to muster up the courage to do that. So I want to make sure that when they do, they don't get it spoiled by something negative happening. Then I look at the tail, and you can probably see his tail in the video right there. That's an anxiety. That can be an anxiety shake. So my dog's stressed, it shakes off like that. I pet the tail or the butt. Yes, good job. Let that anxiety go. So the tail wagging is more of an indication of energy than it is happiness. It's really where and how it's wagging. If it's straight up stiff, I call this flying the flag. That's a good indicator. It doesn't mean the dog's aggressive or dominant or territorial, but I'm going to pay a little bit more attention because it could be closer to those emotions. The dog's tail's up and twitching really fast, similar sort of deal. His tail now, can you see it here? Here, buddy. There we go. And so his tail kind of has a little bit of a swoop at the end of it. So right here, you see his tail, if you can see in the shot, it's extending parallel with the spine. That's what we like to see is a good balanced tail in the middle. If this is the dog's head and this is the spine and this is the tail, we like it wagging here in the middle. If it's up, again, alerting. If it's tucked between his legs and phallic, nobody should pet him. He should increase the distance between him and whatever it is. And if you see it kind of wag in the middle, that's kind of what we're looking for. And again, watch when our partner comes up. Maybe he's doing a circle on the right side, or he's doing figure eights or circles across the line, whatever it is. You want to find whatever it is. So now I know what his tail does when he's happy, when he's neutral, when he's excited, when he's fearful. If you can recognize your dog's first indication they're uncomfortable, and you increase the distance between them and whatever it is, they don't have to go to level 2, level 3, level 4. That provides you being a good handler makes him feel secure and confident. So that's really, really underappreciated by humans, but profoundly impactful once you get a habit of doing that. So try to be a student of your dog's body language. Let me think, what else? Get a snuffle mat, feeding on a snuffle mat, I think I mentioned earlier. Trying to think if there's anything else. No more people food. I would, and if he comes to the table, go retreat away from the table. So when I come to the table where the food is, no longer the humans give me food, but treats drop way over there. So that's a pretty good indication he's comfortable. He came and jumped up here. I didn't try to pet him. I could have. I think he's fine with that. But again, we have to be listening to his body language. And the more that we do that, the more comfortable and confident he's going to be. Let me see. I'm trying to think. We went over Leave It. If I don't have the Leave It video linked up, let me know and I'll add it to the write-up. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The video above for this is a good illustration of breaking things down into small steps. Instead of reaching the handle, we reach a little bit. So try to think about that for anything else. We were teaching him to lay down. Again, it was not till we got him on this surface that he was able to lay down. I think he just didn't feel secure on the ground. So try to find ways that if he has difficulty with something, how can I make it easier? And let him practice just the first, maybe instead of the whole enchilada, we make it 6 steps. So we're going to practice step 1 over and over and over till he's easy on step 1. Then we do step 1 and then step 2. Yeah, he's got a lot of energy. So I think I said sit will really help a lot because he's going to get a little socialization with other dogs. Yes. You want me to roll that, or you want to play tug of war? I think you want to play tug of war. Yes, you want to play tug of war. Oh yeah. Yes. Last thing I want to mention, he just growled. A lot of us, when our dogs growl, we interpret that as a dog being aggressive, and we say no. If a dog, I don't think a dog's comfortable, I don't ever make him sit. I ask for a sit once to see if they're comfortable enough to sit. And if they're not, I don't ask for it again. I move 5 feet away and ask again, 5 feet away, until when he sits, I know this is the distance he needs. If a dog growls, I always interpret that as his way of saying, I feel uncomfortable or I disagree. If he does that, the best thing for you to do is increase the distance for him so he doesn't have to do it himself. Isn't that right? I'm just going to leave that right there for you, see if you'll come up here and get it. Well, this is my puppy Apollo. Yeah. Well, that was briefly Apollo, and this is Apollo's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.